Hey, welcome back, gang, and welcome to the beginning of a new series on composing and improvising for pedal steel. So I recently got a request to write a steel solo for a Brad Paisley tune that doesn't have steel in it, and it got me thinking, instead of just writing a solo and teaching it to y'all, I'd rather teach y'all my thought process for composing steel parts. So that's what we're going to start doing, and this isn't going to be the typical series where we start in one place and end in another. This is just going to be a topic we keep revisiting every now and then to improve our skills at composing and improvising. And really the only difference between the two is how much time you have to decide what you're playing. So I spent some time and came up with this silly little chart of my basic process when I start composing steel parts. And while it looks pretty silly, I do think it's a pretty simple and effective way for any level of steel player to start writing steel parts. So if that sounds like something you're into, please follow along. This is like my fifth or sixth time trying to record this lesson. Keep running into technical difficulties and changing my process a little bit, refining it. So a lot of effort did go into this, but I think you're going to enjoy it. So today's video, we're just going to go through this chart and talk about the different parts of my process. And then in the next video, we will apply it to a pretty simple chord progression. And then from then on, we'll start tackling real songs and more complex chord progressions. That being said, even with the complex chord progressions, we'll still use this basic process. And I think it'll help you come up with some pretty cool steel parts on your own. I will be referencing the chord theory series quite a bit in this. So if you haven't watched that, it's 5-10-minute videos talking about chord inversions, chords of the scale, blending those patterns, the pedals up, pedals down pockets. So if you haven't watched that, please go watch it. I think I just said it's 5-10-minute videos. And in that 50 minutes, it's literally got years of experience it took me to learn that stuff. So I don't think there's a better 50 minutes worth of material out there for beginners. So please go watch that. All right, so let's dive into my silly little chart. So we're not going to get too bogged down in the details today. I just want you to be generally aware of our basic process and the different terms I'm going to use as we apply it to our chord progression in the next video. So if something doesn't make sense, don't worry. I think it'll make a lot more sense further on down the line. So just bear with me. All right, so we've got 4 basic parts. We've got the beginning info, the vibe filter, the train, and the hook. The beginning info consists of the key that the song is in, the chord progression, and then our pedals up and pedals down pockets. So again, this really relies on our chord theory knowledge from the chord theory series. But essentially for finding the key, I'm just going to pick chords till I find the key we're playing in, till it matches up. After that, I'm just going to refresh my knowledge of the chords of the scale in that key. So say we're in the key of G. I'm just going to run the chords of the scale, right? G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished G. And then also, we need to be aware of the different finger groups, right? So we're not always going to be playing in the same finger group because that would be boring, all right? So start messing around with it in different finger groups. And then start blending them together. Okay. After that, we need to pick out the chord progression, right? And for most pop songs, all of the chords in the progression are kind of come from that chords of the scale, but not always. Sometimes we'll have a funky chord. Say we're playing like a 1-4 with a major 2-5, right? 1-4, major 2-5. Right, we've all heard that progression. So we do need to spend some time picking out that chord progression. And again, we're just going to match up those chords, right? Just by picking around. After that, once we get the chord progression, we need to go through it in the pedals up and pedals down pockets. So say we're doing that 1, 4, 2, 5. Right, I just did it in the pedals up pocket. Let's do it in the pedals down pocket. So 1, 4, major 2, 5. And at this point, I'm just going to start messing around, playing in both those pockets. All right, and the finger groups, right? Okay, next thing we need to do is do the vibe filter. The most important thing we need to do is match the vibe of the song. And I've come up with these pretty much 5 either ors that'll help you match the vibe. And the first one is fast or slow. Pretty self-explanatory, right? If the song's slow, I don't want to play some, super fast speed progression. Right? I want to match the speed of the song. After that, we've got happy versus sad. Right? If the song's sad, I don't want to play something super bouncy. Right? I want to match the sadness of the song. And if it is happy, maybe I do want to play something bouncy. Major, minor. There is subtle differences between happy and sad and major, minor. Not every major chord progression is a happy song, right? The example song we're going to be doing is essentially 6th Avenue Heartbreak by the Wallflowers. And those lyrics are pretty melancholy, so I'm not going to want to play super upbeat. After that, simple verse ornate. The other instrumentation of the song and the chord progression is going to kind of dictate how simple or fancy I should be playing. And after that, single note verse harmonized. Again, kind of a little bit different from simple verse ornate. And all of these kind of blend together, right? If I'm playing something sad, a lot of times that's going to lead towards more harmonized stuff, right? That sounds a lot different from. And if I'm playing something happy and fast, right, that's going to lean more towards single note stuff, right? Because if I'm playing fast, single notes are going to cut through and sound more precise, right? If I'm trying to play, like a harmonized scale super fast, right, it's going to start to get messy. So all that stuff goes into the vibe filter, and that filter eliminates what we shouldn't be playing on the solo. So I hope that all makes sense. But like I said, it'll make more sense as we go to our example songs. After that, I need to know the train, right? And what is the train? So what does the train do, right? It goes in a certain direction for a certain amount of time, and then it has its connections, and then it ends somewhere. So I need to be aware of how many passes through the chord progression do I get, right? If I just get one pass, right, I'm probably not going to want to play the whole thing in one pocket, right? I'm going to want to try to get, maybe as much diversity as I can in there through that one pass. If I get 2 passes, maybe I do want to, that's a real simple way to come up with a solo, right? Do 1 pass in the pedals up pocket and do 1 pass in the pedals down pocket. And then as we get more advanced, we can start looking at connections, right? How do we connect those 2 pockets, right? As a beginner, like super okay to do it just like that. Pedals up pocket for 1 pass, pedals down. But as we get more advanced, we do want to start blending those together. And some example connections, right, are we can use speed progressions to connect those pockets, right? Right, we can also use harmonized scales to get from one pocket to another, right? All right, I went from the pedals down pocket to the pedals up, right? Then we can also use our chord inversions to jump up the fretboard from one pocket to another, right? And then we also need to be aware of the direction we're going. So that involves a few things. So what's happening before my solo? Is it the end of some vocals? Is it the end of a verse? If it is, then maybe I don't want to come right out of the gate with a ripping speed progression like we just did. Maybe I want to do just kind of a simple walk up and then slowly build some intensity there. On the other end of things, maybe there's a ripping guitar solo right before my solo. In that case, I do want to come out of the gate pretty ripping, right? And then at the ending side, we've got to worry about those same things. Am I leading into a ripping guitar solo? In that case, I want to work towards building intensity towards the ripping solo, right? And an easy way to build intensity is going up the neck. As we go up the neck, the notes, of course, get brighter and louder. They start cutting through the mix better. So that's a real simple way to build intensity, right? Or maybe we're going into another verse at the end of my solo. In that case, I need to lower the intensity, right? And kind of let a breath out before the new vocals coming in. So lower the intensity. So those are the other things I need to be aware of when I'm creating the solo. The direction, what's going on both ends of my solo, how long I'm playing, and then the ways I can connect my pedals up and pedals down pockets. The last thing I need to be aware of is the hook. Does the song have a hook to it? Is there a guitar hook, right? If it has a hook, that's a simple way to write a solo around it. Let's say the hook is something simple like that, right? So I would run it through the vibe filter, right? It's a pretty simple hook, right? And it sounds, somewhere in the middle between happy and sad. It's really neither. It's kind of medium tempo. So I'm going to kind of match that, right? And then keep it somewhat simple. And I'm just going to start building around that. And just start adding a little bit more to it. So being aware of the hook can be a real simple way to create a solo. And then if it doesn't have a hook, maybe that's something I want to be thinking about if I'm doing the overdub. And another thing to be aware of is like, am I just playing a solo and that's all I'm playing? Am I playing fills? Maybe I get to play a hook several times over the song. Right? So those are other things to be aware about with the hook. And being able to recall the hook is definitely a fun thing to do. Okay, so like I said, I don't want to get too bogged down in the details. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. But we are going to tackle a pretty simple chord progression next and run it through our chart. And I'll see you there.